maybe we can
mic,
just.
but if you want, do you want to have a second mic so you each have one, or do you want?
Or maybe we
if
can
the
do
sound
like
for
that,
this,
Monica.
Like this is okay. Like no, it could be like actually
In the
like,
middle.
In the middle,
For example. Yeah.
They are speaking, so they share the slot like first one and then.
So we will see how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jo, men vi talar efter varandra, men nu är det ju 7 minuter varje.
Monika sako. Viskas gerai per vidurį.
Tai čia, kad tik tai lapas spinta.
Taip, tai čia va lapai, tau net nereikia. Tau net nereikia tų lapų.
Man reikia. Sveikučiai visi.
Tai žiūrėk, tik klausyk. Maybe let's go.
Bet aš biškai turiu pasistėp. Galim? O dabar? Tu?
Man taip bet kokiu atveju yra gerai. Ai, bet jeigu va taip,
Tu taip negali.
kaip prasa. Yeah, I think it will be all right.
There's...
Neįsijungs.
We... Nej, men då är det... If that's okay for you. I think it would work. Yes. Great. If not, we just... Everything is fine. Yeah.
Ska vi? Okay. Please take a seat. We will begin. Dear participants, welcome to the second and last day of the NordMatch 2017 with the team Together for Inclusion. Some of us have already attended a pitching workshop this morning, but now we are all gathered again together here in this big auditorium. Before we start the program today, I want, on the behalf of all the participants, like to thank the organizers for the exciting program and smooth arrangements that we had on our first day here. And we all enjoyed the day yesterday very much. And a special thanks also for the evening party. And if you ever need a catering from Helsinki, Ms. Riikka Wallin has the contact information for the catering she booked for the evening yesterday. What an excellent choice. So we will have an applaud for the evening party also. And now, dear participants, we have the pleasure to listen to the 4 case presentations of cross-sectoral cooperation. And we have 1.5 hour reserved for this in our program. And this means that every presentation slot will have 20 minutes max. And that means that the presentations will be 50 minutes, and then we will again have 1 or 2 questions. And Riikka has again the heavy duty to take care of the time schedule. And could you again demonstrate your lovely equipment? Once more. Yes, please. So we are familiar with this. And now I have the pleasure to invite Mrs. Julia Zaitseva-Kirk as our first speaker today. And Julia will present the Nordic Baltic Youth Festival Life on the Line, which takes place in Copenhagen, Denmark. And the focus for the festival is intercultural dialogue. And Julia comes from Ukraine, and from the program book you can also read more of the activities she runs in Kiev. And Julia, please come forward. And I have agreed with Julia that also Julia will answer the same questions that the other presenters got yesterday. So you could begin your presentation by mentioning 3 things that you would not want to give up in your life.
In my life. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yes, just 1 second. Okay. So what I don't want to ever give up in my life probably would be my family, my friendships, and the seaside. Yes. Okay, but anyway, I'm here to present today the project that is entitled Life on the Line. And as it has been mentioned before, it's about intercultural dialogue. There is probably nothing more powerful and beautiful than intercultural dialogue, when people across borders, across cultures, reach out, come together to celebrate their differences, ask questions, laugh together, learn from each other, and bottom line, understand that they are the same. We are the same. We are people. And it is probably the most important nowadays, when thousands and thousands of people have put their life on the line, travel so far from home, for good, forever. And these people need to be heard. they need to be engaged into intercultural dialogue in ever-changing Europe. So this is what Life on the Line is about. We as youth workers from different European countries, we believe that it is young people who can be real change makers, who can really reach out, who can really create the intercultural dialogue and shape this new Europe we are talking about. But we as youth workers, we need to help them. We need to create the environment where young people can really, really make this change. So this is Life on the Line. And because my idea here today is to give you the essence, to explain the atmosphere that we want to create with this project. And before I do so, I want to give you like the outline. What is the project? So it is 5 days of intercultural youth exchange, and one of the days is the street festival, the youth festival on the streets of Copenhagen. It will take place very soon, in December 5th till December 11th, 2017. And it is also not a secluded, just one-time project. Actually, it's the third part of NSU Integration Project 2017. But the next presenters, they will explain maybe a little bit more about the whole framework. And I just want to mention that this is not just something single. This is like part of something bigger. So participants, who is our target group? It's younger people aged 14-22, with maybe some adjustments, because we believe that young people this age, they have less prejudices, but also less experience when dealing with people with different cultural backgrounds. So if we engage them, they will be able to give more change and more input afterwards. Who are the people? They are residing in Nordic countries, Germany and Latvia, because we are like the network of NGOs from these countries. But what we mean by various cultural backgrounds is that we are bringing people from refugee and migrant backgrounds, and also people, just regular people, let's say, right? So we want to create the space where people will actually communicate and share their heritage. So, who are the partners? Who is the team who is actually carrying out the project? And also, who is funding us? We are funded by Erasmus Plus, Council of Europe, and Nordic Councils of Ministers. And you can see that this is like really a lot of NGOs, youth NGOs from Nordic countries, Germany and Latvia. If you want to like discuss later who this exactly is, we can talk later about that, because that's a really big network. And the venue, we're actually really excited about the venue, because this is called the Theatre Island, and we are supposed to rent the facility from an actual theatre that has a lot of different, very nice spaces where different workshops for smaller groups and bigger groups can be actually held. Okay, so why are we doing this? Of course, to increase intercultural dialogue, as I've mentioned before, and we are doing this by by the framework of NGOs, youth NGOs who will be selecting and sending the participants, and the participants will be going back to their partner NGOs and like do the dissemination later. And we expect for this group of up to 50 people to gain something. So what is it we believe that the participants will gain after 5 days of this intercultural project? Number one, they will enhance their interest and understanding of other cultures. I think I don't have to comment here. If you're in such a multicultural environment, it's not possible to actually sit and not be engaged and not being interested. Number two, to gain skills to interact considerately and respectively. This is one of the most important goals for us, because young people really want to get engaged. But sometimes they lack skills and they don't know what is proper, what is improper. So sometimes they try to not to engage in conversation at all because they don't know how. So it is up for us, for trained youth workers, to help them with the techniques, skills, and so on, to actually be respectful, considerate, but learning also and engaging also. discover how intercultural cooperation can raise the level of competences. Because people will be actually creating the youth festival. They'll be really, really challenging themselves and developing skills like organizational skills, communicational skills, some maybe specific skills because they will be doing something very creative, singing, dancing, storytelling. It's up for them what they will be doing, but they will be developing their skills nonetheless. Strengthen European citizenship. This is what I have mentioned before. This is the face of new Europe. This is the future of constantly shaping Europe, and this is up to young people to do that. And the last, but also very important one, we have the last day of the project reserved for the future dissemination, because we don't want the project, as nice as it is, to die after it ends. So we give the participants the time during the project itself to actually think, brainstorm how they can go back to their communities, NGOs, universities, schools, whatever, and do something, spread the word, disseminate the project outcomes. Format. This is the most exciting because we are the big believers in non-formal education technique, basically learning by doing. We're not sitting in the classroom and lecturing people. This is one culture and this is other culture. We are there to help, to facilitate, to give ground rules and maybe some specific techniques for listening and communicating. But it is up to young people to actually engage and share. This is why we'll be having work in big and small groups for different activities, and we will create free spaces for sharing and reflecting. So it is young people who will be teaching each other, it's not us. Active listening and nonviolent communication techniques. Those are two techniques. We have like experienced trainers and youth workers who can actually teach people to actively listen and to communicate non-violently. This is very important for us in each of our projects. And intercultural dialogue through freedom of expression. Because it's youth festival, it's about cultures, it's about diversity, it's about young people doing exactly whatever they want. We can give them some ideas, but bottom line, it will be young people who will be deciding what kind of events and workshops they will be having in Copenhagen. We can only guess, actually. Timeline. This is like an outline of what will happen during 5 days. As you can see, the first day is more about team building and introducing the idea of cultural dialogue. Day number 2 is about the basics, about human rights, because we believe that non-workshop like this can go without introducing the basic idea of equality, diversity, and human rights. But at the same time, day 2 and day 3 are all dedicated to preparation. We will give people opportunities to share their cultures, their skills, their hobbies and interests. So based on this, young people will be doing workshops. We don't know, maybe folk dances, maybe open mic in the streets of Copenhagen, maybe photos they will be doing, or they will cook something and they will just, treat the strangers on the streets. We really don't know, and we are really looking forward to know what is it young people from different backgrounds can come up with. And number 4 is actually the street festival. So we have it pretty much under control because, you have to talk to police and local commune and reserve the spaces. So this is a lot of hassle, but actually we're on the top of things. And fingers crossed, everything will be nice. We have a nice group of volunteers. Also local NGOs from Copenhagen are supposed to help a lot because this is also very big, and participants themselves, they aren't in a new city, they cannot do it on their own. So it's up to us, people from Copenhagen, to actually carry out organization. And as I mentioned before, number 5, evaluation. We're very, very much invested in the outcomes of the project, not just the festival being successful itself, which of course is very important. But more of it, we are really very curious of how every single participant will reflect upon their own learning process and how they will go back and actually maybe they will just talk to their friends. like a cup of coffee or something, which is already a success for us. But maybe they will do a campaign. Maybe they will come up with a project like this, because it is young people for young people. And they can, within the same framework, they can create the project like this, because they have new partnerships, they have new network. So we are there for the fifth day to actually ensure that young people brainstorm and start carrying out the follow-up. Yep, what do we have next? So, evaluation. How do we know that the project is successful? Because this is something that for now exists in our head, and it looks amazing. We, as the partnership of youth NGOs from different countries, believe it to be the most exciting and efficient way for young people from different backgrounds to really establish intercultural dialogue. But we need some tools to actually say, yes, this is what we wanted, or no, unfortunately, we didn't get everything as we wanted. So how do we do that? First of all, midterm and final evaluation with participants. So basically sitting down at the end of every day and asking, hey guys, how is it going? Is it what you have expected? Is there something that is really successful and you want to go on with? Or maybe something is just really uncomfortable and not working, because also it's intercultural. It can be tricky. So we need to really, really monitor the situation. And of course, we'll give them opportunity to write the final evaluation, so we as a team will be more experienced next time. Dissemination with the partner NGOs, as I mentioned before, people coming back to their sending organizations and just disseminate whatever the way they find fit. New partnership and project ideas, hopefully they will also establish. Engage locals. We are planning to engage as many people in the streets as possible. We will reach out, we will talk, we'll engage local NGOs, and just really hope to locals also to participate. And anything visual, for example, we are planning to make a movie about the project, or maybe there will be nice photos made, or whatever else. We don't want to make any limits, to give them any framework. But anything that will be created, of course, we will put on all resources of ours, of our partner NGOs, and maybe further on. So basically, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. The only last thing that I want to mention is that the project is still about to happen, and we're still not finished with the open call for participants. Some of participants are already enlisted, but as I mentioned, we are planning to have up to 50 people. So if you think that you can contribute in any way, your organization, or you know someone who can be a perfect participant for us, for example. You think that you have ideas. Already yesterday we had like beautiful ideas from some people, and I cannot stress enough how grateful I am. So we are welcoming anything. We are here, me and Frederick and Anna, and please reach us if you have anything to contribute or just to talk, or any ideas are welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. This is really an exciting case. Did I understand it correctly that it is the first time that it is arranged this year, or has it been already before arranged earlier also?
The project like this, the youth exchange and the festival, this format will be the first time this year, but as the bigger project on inclusion, it is the third part, and like my colleagues will elaborate more about this. This type is completely new, and we are very excited.
A fresher case presentation.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm sure that it raised some questions. So who would like to use the lovely microphone and have the first question?
Everything is very clear.
I can warm up. You can still think about it. I was thinking that when you have put a lot of effort on this evaluation part, and now when this is the first time that you have like the arranging this. So on the long term, so what kind of plans do you have that as organizers, how will you continue to have contact with the participants afterwards?
With the participants.
Yes.
Well, because this project, as unique as it is just a part of like a lot, like a system of projects, right? So the NGOs who are carrying it out, they are already in contact very much. It's a very tight network. So as far as I understand, because to be completely honest, I have joined the team on the later stage of the development of the project. I myself, to be honest, have immigrated twice in my life. One time due to something very unfortunate, and second time because it's like really nice. But both times I had to emigrate, so I'm there more like the facilitator with actual background in this sort of things. But the people who are doing it, because it's not just like one person or like 5 people, this is like all the partner organizations, they are very tight in contact with themselves and with their participants. So I'm pretty sure it will be carrying out in 2018 in the framework of the new integration projects.
Could you just show the timeline again?
Timeline again, no problem. Just a second, and here we go.
Is there already some questions? Okay, then I use the second and last opportunity. To thank you. Could you also show again the logo landscape
Yes,
slide?
of course.
I was wondering that you have a lot of different kind of financing instruments when we look at this logo landscape. Just a short answer, but is there some lesson learned that you would like to share with us, that how it is to work with such many instruments and partners?
In terms of financing or in maintaining
in terms
the
of
network?
financing, because otherwise we would not maybe have time to.
I
you can
understand.
elaborate the question afterwards, but the answer. But.
So in this exact project, it's not me who is handling financial things, but as you can see, of course, we have grants from different organizations, like Erasmus Plus, for example, the Council of Europe, and also like Nordbook, like the minister. And those are different grants, but they're integrated. And like I think maybe my colleagues after me can explain more elaborated, like how this works. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then Anna will continue maybe with this question. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. And now please welcome Mrs. Anna Lindberg from Finland and Mr. Fredrik Kirk from Denmark. And they are now presenting us also a new project, quite new project, the Nordic-Baltic Project Lead for Youth Leaders. And it will be interesting to learn from the project and to hear what impact the project has had so far. And you can find information of this LEAD project also from the Facebook, from the Nordic Youth Organization. I was looking at your Facebook yesterday, and I was extremely happy because you had used the hashtag NordMatch 2017 with the picture from this auditorium program. So please, if there is anybody sitting here who hasn't used it yet, so please use. So thank you very much for that. I think that Anna will first tell about her 3 things, and then Fredrik can continue, please.
Okay. So when I already heard this question yesterday, I started thinking about it, and I came up with a lot of things I wouldn't want to give up. But then I thought that a gun to my head, what would be the things that I was really want to keep? Firstly, my freedom. Secondly, love. And thirdly, nature.
And I think the 3 things that I would not give up is love, it is drive in myself and in my peers, and it's the people I care about. I think we're ready to start now.
I think it's a good start
Yes.
starting point for,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
your presentation.
Yes. Let me start by setting the background for this project. Imagine it's 2015. Your country is at war, and you flee with your family. You're interned in a camp in Turkey, with no prospects of anything getting any better. Imagine that your whole family scraped together the few funds they have to get 3,000 euros to get you on a boat to Greece. And now imagine getting to Greece and hiding at the coast from the authorities and walking hundreds of kilometers through Europe in order to get to the European Union. Imagine finally arriving in Germany or in Sweden and being interned in another place, in a refugee home, without prospects of working or changing your status for months while your case is being processed. And imagine hearing about yourself being described as an economic migrant or as a parasite of wealthy nations. Wouldn't you feel frustrated, scared, or alone in this reality? I mean, obviously, look at me, this is not my reality. But I hear about this from the refugees I know and the people I talk about. And hearing these stories and looking at TV and seeing a completely different narrative being told, I thought, it's definitely not the media that got it right. It's definitely the refugees and the people traveling. So I thought to myself, with my fellow youth workers, what can we do to change the situation? Where do we start? It's a really big problem to tackle in Europe today. And we thought we could start by working with our member organizations to teach them about the situation. We set out to help educate the member organizations in how to promote inclusive and intercultural activities meant to reach out to migrants in general and refugees in particular. And this led, oops, somebody hasn't started this from the beginning, to LEAD.
Yes. So, LEAD, or Led Nya Norden, is the first part of a project that the Nordic Youth Association has been working on since 2015 and has implemented throughout 2017. As you heard Julia, the third part is going to be the Youth Festival in Denmark, Life on the Line. So just shortly about the Nordic Youth Association. We're an umbrella organization for youth NGOs in the Nordic countries. We have 14 member organizations, about 600,000 members, personal members. And our main aim is firstly to increase cooperation between the NGOs in the Nordic countries, but also to create non-formal learning activities for youth and youth workers in the Nordic countries on topics that interest and affect them in their work. Yeah, and LEAD is one of results for this.
Yes. The project was conceived in 2015 as a result of these stories. And we've been trying to, we searched for funding in 2015 and 16, and now we're ready to implement it in 2017. The format of LEAD was a 7-day training course, and it's based on Erasmus Plus training course model called Key Action 1, specifically Key Action 105. And it's based on the same learning principles as Julia was just mentioning, non-formal learning education.
Yes. And just to point out, I was talking about that we're working in the Nordic countries, but we're also very welcoming to work with other countries, Balkan countries. We had some people from that part. Estonia. Yeah. So we're going to the aim. So the aim of LEAD was for Northern Europe youth organizations to firstly motivate their young members to develop inclusive approaches for other cultures, and also to develop activities they already have to be more easily accessible and to become more socially inclusive for people that are new in their communities. And then we can go to the objectives. So the first objective was to get an overview of the refugee crisis and its impact in our own community. The second one was to get a better understanding of the refugees' background, their current situation, and also what their needs and interests are. And the third one was to learn about social inclusion and how an inclusive approach could be brought to their organization and what they're doing right now. And the fourth one was to gain competences to motivate and facilitate respectful intercultural dialogue between them and the new arrivals. And lastly, and this is a very important, as Julia said, our outcomes are really important for all the activities, was to plan an inclusive follow-up activities and to develop different skills and methods to implement them back at home. So, then we have the same partners and funders as Julia had. And here I can say that these are the partners for the whole year. We had we're going to have 3 different events this year. But I can say that all the different projects are based on their own fundraising. So we have been searching for funding for all the different activities, and here I can answer the question about having different economies. It's also always a puzzle, but here they have Erasmus and AUF and Nordic Council has different ideas of what you apply for. So it's its own thing to create an event that suits everyone. But they are all very supportive in this subject, so we're very happy to have fundraising from them. Then you can see, as Julia said, our different partners. Most of them are our member organizations. So the idea is that when NSU makes a project, we work with our member organizations and we find participants from their member organizations. Yes. Then.
For LEAD, we had 24 participants from 9 different countries. These people had various cultural backgrounds. It's the same target group as for Life on the Line, but we focused more on people who are doing youth work. So people who are actually like volunteering or people who are youth leaders in their own local or like national organizations. Furthermore, we were so blessed to have very local refugee center where we reached out and we had 7 Syrian refugees coming as much as their application process allowed to come and join us, sharing their perspectives and their ideas and giving their inputs to how we could improve and how their situation could improve. And we stressed very much that these Syrian refugees were not there as external people, but were there as part of the group. We chose the venue to be Brusaby, actually in Kemir here near Turku, which is close enough to Helsinki that you can drive and far enough away that people don't go and do stuff in the evening outside the venue. Yeah. The program was a 7-day training course. We have just taken an excerpt here of some of the activities that we provided. One of the things that we did that we are really proud of is a simulation exercise called Exclusion Breakfast, where the participants could get to experience discrimination in a safe environment and talk about it afterwards. And it's a really strong tool we found, both for the participants and also as a trainer to facilitate this. We spent a whole day exploring the participants' culture and their own culture and each other's cultures and what that means and where are similarities and differences and how can you use that information to broaden your own horizon. We spent many sessions teaching specific skill development. One of the things that we're very big proponents of is nonviolent communication. how you can talk about your needs without using violent language, which is a really deep and big topic in and of itself. We used other types of specific skill development like public speaking sessions. We did conflict transformation sessions. We had sessions on leadership, and we had sessions on project method. So the youth workers and the participants were able to create their own projects at the end of this training course. The outcomes that we've discovered during this, which improved intercultural understanding for the participants. We had development of future projects. We had a project market that the people got to share their ideas and got to get feedback on it so they could go home and develop them. We had development of these particular skills that I've talked to and others, and people got to share the practices from their own countries in a broad and a broad space, which was also safe for people to share their own opinions. Furthermore, we engaged the youth workers to participate and engage in future projects. As an example, we had 2 of the participants from project 1 was facilitators in project number 2. And 2 furthermore are going to be in in Life on the Line. Furthermore, these particular projects are being fundraised right now in their own communities, and we hope that some of them will get funding for 2018. Yes. This was actually our presentation, and we would like to take any questions, not only about the project itself, also the NSU integration project that we're doing in 2017, or NSU in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fredrik. I think it was an excellent idea to have these 2 presentations both included in the program, because it was good to hear from different perspectives to the same topic. Please, we have time for 1 or 2 questions. Or otherwise, we can also use the other methods. No questions, but you just throw it, and we will see who will who will have it, and then the person who gets the mic. Okay, over here. It helped. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. I was thinking, what are daily problems you had by talking or implementing, language problems, or what are the obstacles?
So language problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the question.
Or what are the biggest obstacles?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. Usually, having the refugees there, we had a translator because not every the refugees was of varying ages. We focus mostly on young people from the age of 18 through 30, but the refugee participant was as young as 12 and as old as 60. So there we had a translator who did very well in translating the questions and the discussion in plenary. When we do these Nordic corporations, we have 2 rules. We usually use both a Nordic language. We call it Scandinavese, which is a mix of Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish. And if you speak very slowly, most people can understand you if they have a knowledge of any of one of these languages. And also, people are getting very well spoken in English, which we also use. Does that answer the question?
I mean, that's the language part, but other obstacles, from cultures and,
Just if you mean, do you mean the refugees to implement them to the activities, or in the activity itself for the participants?
Yeah, both, actually.
Both. Okay. For us, it's interesting. We always talk about a Nordic identity, but then again, we have some similarities, but we have very many differences. So it's already very interesting to learn about the cultures in the different Nordic countries. So this is a big part of all the activities, to learn and by this understand each other better. And this is also what the idea with intercultural dialogue is, that we create an atmosphere where you're interested in the other person instead of scared or negative or whatever. So you create a space where everyone is welcome to share. But I think if we think about just facilitating our own activities to bring in refugees, there is a lot of things to think about. Just the logistics, that how does this person come here? If something costs something, how do we deal with that? Of course, the language, of course, the culture. So there's many different ideas, and that's why the part of the activity is many different, that they gain skills and knowledge in very different things, so they get a global understanding of how this work should be done. And then we give them the possibility to create their own follow-up activities, if that answered. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fredrik mentioned as an answer to the last question that you also used this mixture of, was it Danish, Swedish and Norwegian? And there is an Icelandic author, Einar Már Gudmundsson, who has won the literature prize by the Nordic Council, and he calls this mixture of the Nordic languages for Viking Esperanto. And I mention this because our next case comes from Iceland, and Harpa Hilmarsdóttir and Ísgerður Gunnarsdóttir come from Reykjavik. And at this point, I just want to ask the audience, how many of you have decided that one day you will travel to Iceland? Yes. Because now Harpa and Ísgerður will stay here also for lunch. So you have an excellent possibility to continue the discussion with them then. But now we will be served a sample of Icelandic creative collaboration in a project that mixed together journalism, youth, and the National Broadcasting Company. And that sounds very good to me. And Ísgerður, maybe you can first name 3 things that you will never give up in your life, and Harpa, you will get ready for the same question.
Okay. Yeah, this is either like a chocolate kind of thing or love kind of thing, isn't it? I would say the people in my life I wouldn't want to give up. I would say chocolate and sweets. And freedom sounded good too, and especially having listened to the refugee stuff, it makes you appreciate it. Oh, can I say 4? My health.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before. Mm-hmm. I'm cheating, sorry.
I think it may be doing things that I think matter or valuable. I had thought of 2 things. Just my people and doing silly things. That's important.
Hey, so before we start, how many of you have already been to Iceland? Oh, okay.
Okay. We didn't pay her, huh? Okay, we are here to talk about a project that we have worked on together. We call it Young Journalists, and it's a creative collaboration between Reykjavik City, or the Reykjavik Children's Culture Festival, and RÚV, the Icelandic Broadcast Service. My name is Harpa, as has been said before. I work for Reykjavik City, and my title is Reykjavik Children's Culture Project Manager. Long title, yeah. And what I do is to connect children and culture. That's the easy way to say it. And one of my projects is Children's Culture Festival.
Mm-hmm. My name is Ísgerður, and I'm on the editing team of Krakkarúv's Kids News. I'm also head of social media at RÚV.
Okay. In April every year we have this festival called Reykjavik Children's Culture Festival. It is a 6-day festival with 150 events open to all forms of culture, for children, with children, and by children. We can say that the children take over the culture scene over these 6 days. and is visible in all our cultural institutions and schools and leisure centers and kindergartens, and just in all likely and unlikely places. The festival gets a lot of media coverage, but the coverage it used to get was made by adults for adults. So, as it is a children's culture festival, we felt that the children should tell the stories, like what they thought about these events, who were either organized for them, with them, or by them. In the beginning, before my time at this job, chosen young people could write news about the festival events on the festival's homepage, who actually nobody read unless like grandparents and parents who love them very much. And when I started on this job, little bragging, I felt there could be many possibilities in this, and we could do it much better. The first year on this job, I contacted Morgunblaðið, who was like one of the biggest newspapers in Iceland, and the young journalist got a course there from the journalists at the newspaper, and they wrote on the web page of that newspaper. The year after, I contacted RÚV, the Icelandic Broadcast Service, the BBC of Iceland, as I like to call it. And the children wrote on their webpage. It was interesting and good, and the children got a very good quotes from the journalists and their legends in the business. But it was not at all young or fresh. They were still writing on a webpage, and it was not like young people, how they do. But then I met this woman and the people at RÚV, and then things changed, and we're going to tell you that story.
So this was not just an excuse to show you that I'm on TV, but this is our show, and this is the show that they take over. So just over 2 years ago, it was decided that RÚV needed to sort of step up their game and provide better service for younger Icelandics. And it started out with them hiring 2 of us, and we've grown to a team of about 9 now, due to all the different projects that we've taken on. This was our first kind of krakkarúv, that means kids RÚV, our first program. And it's a news program that basically tells kids everything about what's going on in our society and the world. And we decided that nothing was, we could talk about anything. And we weren't going to say, oh, that's not something you talk about to kids. So anything that they were likely to hear or know about in any way and possibly misunderstand, we would explain. So we also set ourselves a goal right from the start to involve kids as much as we could in everything that we do. And we make a point to speak to them with respect so that we're not condescending. And whenever we get people on the show, and we sometimes have them send us interviews and stuff, we always say, please don't speak to them in a baby voice, because we don't really like that. And our mission is to sort of, so we work by this motto and a hashtag, which is krakkar geta, which means kids can. Because kids can do so much more than they are often given credit for. And our mission is to sort of give them a platform to show that to people and have their voices heard. And also to involve them in the society they live in so that they grow up thinking that, their community is their business. So a part of that is that we've had kids' elections alongside the real elections, which we have every year now. I don't know if you know the Icelandic politics, but our elections are on Saturday, and we also had elections last year for the same government. This is very fun. We had the first parliament in the world, and I guess we just thought, hey, let's vote all the time. So we've done this kids' elections, so when that's another collaboration though. So when we got together with Harpa and her team, we all realized we were very much on the same page, and that our projects kind of fit together perfectly.
Afsakið, búps. Hvert fór þetta? Hvar er ég? Put together perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Þetta þú ætlar að tala þetta líka.
Yes, I'm not done. Yeah, so this project is called Young Reporters, obviously. And the first thing we do is we advertise for teens who want to participate. And we have them send us sample news. It's supposed to be 1 minute. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. We send information to schools and leisure centers for teens, as well as advertising on TV and social media. They send us their videos, and then we go through them, and we choose a group of about 10 to 12 teenagers to participate. The kids that are selected, we invite to a 2-day seminar at RÚV, and they attend lectures and participate in workshops with professionals that they know from TV. So like we have one who's our anchorman, like anchorman of Iceland. Everybody loves him, Boye, and he takes them on a tour and speaks to them about things. And they become a part of the staff at RÚV. They experience that they belong and have a responsibility. And we gave them a staff ID card the first year. The second year we didn't, because they got a press pass, and they started to try to get into events using their press pass from RÚV. So yeah, we didn't do that again, but you know, it was a little bit too real. And so over the course of their workshop, we teach them interviewing techniques and what the difference is between news and promotion, and how to speak to kids, like young kids, when they're interviewing them, and not get the sort of yes, no answers that are very normal with little children. So to ask sort of open questions and how to respond if they freeze and don't answer. We also go through like how to frame their subject, how to illustrate the interview and make it more interesting. And then they get a task of making a piece of news from beginning to end before the second session. And so they have to choose what to cover, they film it, edit, and present to the group at the next session. And there we give them feedback, and we go through the pros and cons, everything that was done well, that could be done better. We have the other kids also comment what they think, and if they notice something and see room for improvement, or if they admire something that the other kids have done.
Yeah. At the end of the 2-day course, the kids or the youngsters get a brochure with all the festival events. They go through it and they pair up and choose events that they want to cover during the festival, 6 festival days. And we suggest that they make 1 or 2 news every day. The first thing they do is to attend to an opening ceremony or a whole opening day at Harpa, our main music center. It has my name. You can ask me later why.
And we'll give you directions how to get there.
The opening day consists of 5 large events, and the children make news about them. They're backstage in the green room, and they're kind of very cool in this cool place. They're also, yeah, they just backstage. They meet all their idols who are performing at the festival on the first day. They choose what they're going to talk about. During this event, they work with a person like from the leisure center who is just taking care of them, because the social part also, it's a lot of pressure. They feel like it's really hard on the first day. So they just, so we get somebody to work with them and take care of them during the first day, but and the social element of this work can be tricky, and we really have to hug them and care about them during the week. And sometimes we get some kids who don't get along, and we just have to work on that. Some of them are very diligent and always want to turn in the 1 or 2 news every day, and others don't really give us anything. Þú ætlar að segja þetta. That's why I thought, okay, hætti hérna.
She's stealing my lines. I've been talking too much.
Did this together.
That's
Come.
okay. No, yeah. It was just about the 5-minute thing through you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they basically, some of them, we give them 1 to 2, like we say 1 or 2 pieces of news every day. And the first year they were a little bit like, oh, I don't know, it's a bit much, it's so much pressure. So the following year we were like, okay, just 1 per day. And then some of them were just really good and doing so much. And then there were a few that were just like, didn't turn anything in, and were like, oh, but this was so difficult. And we were a bit like, was it now? We didn't see anything, but okay. So, there's challenges with that because we can't really pressure them. And, luckily there are fewer that are lazy than the ones that are diligent. So, yeah.
And at the end of the festival, we throw a pizza party, where we talk about the experience and get feedback from the kids, and we talk about what we got out of this, all of us. And the main thing that we've heard from the kids is that they learned a lot about how to make the news, and they think it's much more complicated, and they see the television, what they look at on television and the news in a totally different way. And some of them have decided that this is what they want to do. And they are still working with Krakkarúm on some other projects. Some thought that, as she said, that the pressure was too much. And the following up, and hvað að gerast hérna, sko? Okay.
What's happening?
Well, but the result of their work really surprised us, and how close they are just to the normal news, the news from the people who have been doing this for so many years, especially because they're just working with their phones or like simple equipment. Yeah. Þú ætlar að hætta.
Yeah. I think we've gone back to the beginning here.
Nei. Þetta
Jú, það kostningarnar og eitthvað. So basically, I think we're good. Any questions? We actually put this text in a program at work called iNews that measures how long it is, and it said it was only like 8 minutes, and we were like, shit, we're gonna be way too short. Like we won't get through it. Okay.
Thank you, Harpa, and thank you, Iskardur. Questions? Comments? Reflections?
Anything?
Anything?
Say that I love what you are doing. I love what I heard. It's like, I kind of want to move to Iceland and job with you.
Go ahead, do.
Okay, here's the deal.
Thanks for the presentation. I mean, I don't know Iceland at all. I just know it's super small. So maybe you're gonna have the problem that now you have too many journalists coming up in Iceland. But the question I have is, you have the idea maybe to do this idea, or maybe send some kids abroad for making news, like to maybe do it on an international or cooperate with some other institutions who are trying to make cultural exchange. I mean, you have these ideas, or I don't know, take 5 kids into a plane and send them to another.
See what happens.
No, but it could be an interesting project to see how they maybe discover another country and the problems there, and then come back to Reykjavik.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. We would have to apply for funding for that. But yeah, no, it sounds like a good idea. I'm sure the applications would be a lot more than just what we've had. We've had good response, but I'm sure if they got to go to another country, it would, we'd.
But we really feel that this project can grow even more, and we are like contacting these kids for other projects, like she has the kids elections, but also like I have another project, a theater project, and there may be some kids who will be making media coverage for Krakkarúf about that. Yeah, it's like a talent competition theater. So it's just, I think it will grow more every year from now on if we keep on working together. And
we are these two here, and then I think that we don't have time for more. But before that, I said we are very happy that you presented this case, and I want to ask, are there some other TV companies from abroad who have made study visits and wanted to hear about your experiences?
No.
Okay, because this gives, of course, for the profile also for the national broadcasting company a lot. But please, the question is over there.
And also, I was wondering, what are the feedbacks of the parents, if you
Sorry?
get some? The feedbacks of the parents of the kids.
We haven't really had that much feedback from the kids. Oh, you have, okay. One of them actually, yeah, I work with one of them and she was very happy. But you've had more feedback, so.
yeah, this parent, she said like the girl gained a lot of self-confidence through this, so it changed her a lot. And I've heard from some parents that they're all very happy, and because the kids go out of school for most of these days, they're not going to school, and that's yeah. So, but the parents are very happy, even though they have to give some things away.
And there was actually, there was one girl who lives in the north, because this is actually a Reykjavik-based project, and the culture festival is in Reykjavik. But there was a girl who, like, her dad lives in Reykjavik and her mom lives in the north, and she went to Reykjavik specifically to do this. And yeah, so her parents were very supportive.
Oh, from Iceland.
Oh, íslenska.
Very good presentation, thank you. And yeah, my question is more related to what she brought it up, and I was curious to know how the parents participate in this, because it's like their kids are being broadcast and seen. So do they participate, or they interfere, they collaborate, or how is it?
Their participation is mostly signing a slip that says their kids can do this. Some of them have been more involved than others. Some are like driving them between events. But for the most part, it's, you know, their independence is tested, and their parents are not really involved.
I can say one thing, because they're all 13 to 15 years old. And one year we allowed a girl in who was only 12, and we just found out she was too young to take a bus alone, to do all this on her own, and it was just too much pressure on her. So, well, maybe not all kids would be like that, but we feel like this is a good age to be on their own in the city, going around.
Okay, thank you.
Tack.
And our last cross-sectoral case presentation today comes from Lithuania. Monika Kinderytė and Santa Simonavičiūtė will present an educational school called 200 square meters. We look very much forward to hear how you have built up this activity from scratch to the present status quo. And from the information from the program book, we already know that you do have a background in design, architecture, and interior design. But now, Monika had promised to answer the question first, and Santa following her. So please, the three things.
The same questions. Yeah. So without smart people, without movement, and humorous.
Nah. Without love, smile, because you know smile is the best hello and the best goodbye. And of course, be nice to other people. That's it.
200 square meters.
So, hello, I am Santa, and here's Monica. We are from Lithuania, 200 square meters educational workshops.
So there is an assumption that life is a linear. If you're successful, it gradually goes up. If you're not so lucky, it goes down. And if you're somewhere between, it stays flat. And really trust us, we know our lines because we're an architect. And it's really a mess because our lives have loops, curves, upturns, it goes up and down. But just because we're an architect doesn't mean we can always organize or reorganize those tangled patterns. We experience something like creativity box. It's when you know what you have to do, but you don't know what, or when you know how, but you don't know what. So to overcome those creativity blocks, us and our fellow architects decided to encourage ourselves and boost ourselves by cooperating with kids. So that's how 200 square meters project was born.
Back in 2014, we got in 200 second thought grade pupils. Each of them received 1 square meter of space, different materials, and the goal over 2 days to build a joint city of their dreams. Children had total freedom to create and improvise, combine new materials with textures and patterns. We encourage them to collaborate with the neighbors from the north, east, west, and sounds. Ask them to represent and defend their ideas in front of everyone. This project proved to be a success. And after 2 days of a playful work, we had a model of 200 square meters, city of their dreams.
Even though it was an unforgettable experience, that is when we identified some concerning problems in growing children. They already came to the workshops with having a perception of what they're capable to do of and what they're not, instead of really trying to make impossible to be possible.
And even, unless you have been asleep since Renaissance or were born before the 90s, you notice it too. That one of the largest social changes in modern civilization is diminishing creative thinking in children. And they're lacking understanding about the environment they are in.
And we're not the only ones who think like that. Researchers find exactly the same. In the 2011 study of about 300,000 creativity tests, a conclusion was made that children since 1990s have become less able to produce and generate new and unique ideas. They have become less imaginative, humorous, or less able to elaborate. And this phenomenon is turning into a serious problem because creativity not only fosters cognitive and social development, but it's a vital skill that defines our ability to stimulate new ideas, collaborate, and actually defines our success in our personal and professional life. Especially, it's really important for the future of the worker if they really want to win the employment race.
And according to a recent Oxford University study, as technology races ahead, low-skilled workers are in danger to being computerized right off their jobs. With a whopping 47% of the current job at risk, the study concluded that creativity and social skill will be the defining factor in order to succeed professionally. So what's so special about the after-90s generation? Has the modern society extinguished the spark among youth?
First of all, we all set out with the children set out with the wild imagination, fertile minds, and willingness to try things out, to explore the unknown. But as we grow, we naturally lose some of that ability. Of current information and the flow that really defines our perception to us surrounding processes. Education plays a major role in children's divergent thinking. Unfortunately, nowadays, the whole school curriculum is based and narrowed to certain disciplines that they're thought to be more useful by skipping some of that activities that would nurture critical thinking, problem solving, and aesthetic perception. Educational systems are really based and modeled on the interest and image of industrialism. schools remind of actually like mini factories, like ringing bells, specialized or separated on different subjects and badged by different age groups. And yeah, besides, actually, there is an obsession with the standardized testing scene, where children, instead of giving open-ended questions that would nurture the critical thinking, cognitive development, they're giving one correct answer to a question. And we all know those answers. It comes with the form of A, B, C, or D.
Children are not being taught to see the big picture and to raise questions. They know the answers, but they don't know how to apply and combine in a novel and a useful ways. It is more of a data gathering than a learning, and it's a paradox. Because if you ask the business leader, they want people who are creative, innovative, who think differently, work in teams, communicate, and you know that all those things are not being taught at schools.
Yes, and it goes on like for 12 years in order to really allow the brain loosely explore and reconfigure information. Taking a break is necessary. However, TV and internet interferes with these processes. Fortunately, more than 2/3 of kids under 6 spend an average 2 hours per day using some kind of electronic media, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. So this overload really decreases our social interaction and development, doesn't allow us to really chew the information, and takes away our children's precious playtime.
Current educational and social environment is doing a great disservice not only to kids, because it's taking away the joy of imagination and developing their full potential, but it is bringing great risk to the whole economy. As a proof, consider the prediction from the World Economic Forum that complex problem solving will be #1 skill needed in what's been called the 4th Industrial Revolution.
What supports and recent IBM poll were recently 1,500 CIOs from all around the world acknowledged that 4 most wanted skills that would define our future ability to be successful are collaborative, communicative, creative, and flexible.
But it is not lost. All those traits can be developed. Imaginative and creative play is how children learn about the world. Great opportunities for learning are possible when they manipulate materials, express themselves verbally and non-verbally, plan intentionally or unintentionally, act, react, interact, try different roles. All this and more is at the foundation for architecture, and that's this foundation for 200 square meters educational workshops too.
So for the last 6 years, through various annual social, individual workshops and projects, exhibitions, we have shared our professional experience as architects and introduced architecture for kids in different age groups in a really more playful way. So as a result, we have right now a new educational methodology that not only broadens creative mindset, combines logic with arts and aesthetics, but also shows you the new ways how to really solve existing problems such as environmental awareness, recycling, waste reduction. And right now, actually, we're one step forward by bringing our workshops into the schools and representing as after-school activities. So we do it monthly, weekly, and yeah.
We start by choosing and introducing a topic. As an example, cities and water. That with every group of children we develop for 4 weeks, twice a week.
So we actually start our workshops by easily introducing and encouraging children to answer some questions about the space they're in. So questions would be how many balloons you could fit in a class, how many steps it would take for you to go from one corner to another, how big is the classroom.
In this way, kids are introduced to the scales and proportions, the better negative in the environment they are in.
Then we talk about some materials and tools that gonna be used as well by asking really simple questions. What is it for? What you can do with it? What is the surface?
Then we figure out what the tools and materials can be used for. So, let's get serious and create business cards. And
Yeah, by creating business cards, children understand it like it means business. They get the chance to create their job positions. It gives them an importance in a really playful way. So they can work as a collaborators or team leaders or just like in the teams.
Now we have warmed up with the tools and materials. So we ask children those questions. By questioning, we challenge children to think outside the box and see the cities through a different frame, not only that was created by stereotypes.
What is a city? Can really city travel? Where cities actually should be built? On the top of the water or under the water? Can really cities be friends with the water? What kind of possible damages can harm the cities that are next to the water?
Well, and children understand the connection between the cities and the water. They choose what type of city they want to build. They start sketching, elaborating on ideas, experimenting. And even though each of them have individual tasks to do, during the model-making process, they have to cooperate with each other in order to create one-piece city to be able to represent it together.
Then we introduce them the real examples how cities are built. So it's on the water, next to the water, or in between the water. Then we talk about some possible damages that could be done to the cities as tsunamis or floods.
In our workshops, through hands-on experience and active learning, children are able to observe and reflect on architectural content and learn about natural sciences, geography, mathematics, art education, literature, all at the same time.
Because we spend 4 weeks on one specific topic, then children get the chance to really explore the topic more deeply. So not they become more curious or raising questions, they learned how to challenge imagination and really use it in more productive or constructive way. So creativity doesn't mean it has to be messy. As well, children establish an inner rules during the workshops. So like this, they can really respect each other and the work that has been done. But they do that on their own, like creating the rules.
This project has already become a success among children and their parents, who have been very receptive to this new and innovative approach to education. We are getting attention from students and professionals from the different fields who need some spark to overcome, on one way or another, repealing creativity blocks. That leads to procrastination. Through architecture, we teach.
Solve problems, not to memorize the answers.
How to reach an answer is far more important than making the right choice.
Challenge assumptions instead of accepting things as is.
Success is about imagining the possibilities and real-time innovation.
That mistakes are not evil and should not be feared.
Mistakes aren't fatal. They are simply the portals of discovery.
We drive diversity of thought.
World can progress by challenging conventional wisdom and approaching problems with fresh perspective.
We foster imagination and curiosity.
Creativity has become the currency of success for us all.
So, 200 square meters is a team of professionals that believe that life is not linear. 21st century is a world full of complex and ruthless speed, competition.
We can no longer rely on the models of the past in order to succeed. We can't predict the world will be like in 20, 30 years when the children will be grown-ups.
But we can help these children and young adults to learn how to enjoy the learning processes and how to be sort of the kind of the person that could cope with the change, can collaborate, can be innovative, stimulate new ideas, and really work as a team and in a team. So, and really the most important, to be sort of the kind of the person that really, despite all the difficulties, can see an opportunity and not be stopped by the first obstacle.
In this way, they will make the most of their lives and potential in the future. And our goal is to scale and find like-minded partners all over the globe with whom we could share our passion for education through architecture, play, and active learning.
So as the children grow, we want to grow with them. We want to travel with them. We really want to explore new things with them and turn their ideas into reality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for you. We have time for one question. If anybody feels for it. Over there, please.
Hello, Monica. Santa.
Hey.
This is Klaus.
I think Klaus is a fan of the project. Please.
Yes, Klaus is a fan of Santa.
Oh, okay.
Klaus.
Maybe you answered the question.
My question is, could you name 3 new things you have learned from the children?
That there are actually no frames for the curiosity, and actually fantasy is limitless. And you should really not be feared by your own thoughts, because by just like putting your thought into the right kind of the project or the product, you can really show that everything is possible. And we really learn that as like for children, because as like we work as an architects, we every day like face some challenges. So children really like taught us how to overcome those. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Could you please come and stand here in front? So, and I would also like to ask Julia Zaitseva, Anna Lindberg, Fredrik Kirk, Harpa Hilmarsdottir, Isgerdur Gunnarsdottir, and then we already have here Monica Kinderite and Santa Simonavice. So that the organizers would like to thank you, and so that we can also from the audience have applaud to you together. Please. Thank you. Before we go to lunch, I will have. I want to say to you that please, if you haven't registered and signed up for the study visit, do it now. Here you can see all the 3 alternatives. All 3 are organizations that work with inclusion of young people. And the list is still at the registration list, and in the program you find more detailed information of each of these study visits. So please use this opportunity. And now we will have lunch, so that we will be back 1:30. And then we will start to test ideas on a panel of financiers, and it will be really exciting. But now enjoy the lunch and register yourself for the study visit. Thank you.